Hello and welcome to the In the Deep End podcast. I'm Jesse, this is Damiano. What have we got today?
Hello, everyone. So, today we got a couple of topics which should be interesting to discuss. And so, for our first video format, we would like to do something a little bit more general, as we say, as a couple of topics. So, we would like to discuss the Nintendo Switch. What games do we play? What games do we like on the Nintendo Switch? Is the new OLED model worth it and all that, and also look at an adventure game. What is it, Jesse?
It's Unforeseen Incidents from Application Systems. But first, I bought a Switch OLED, Damiano.
Oh, you're splurging again. Oh God.
I will let you in on a secret that this is like my fifth Switch.
Fifth Switch? What happened?
Um, I just keep buying Switches. And I can't stop buying Switches, right?
Oh no.
I had the version 1, the original.
Uh-huh.
And this is the thing. I'm not even a Nintendo fan, like fanboy. Like Nintendo's fine, but um, I had the original. It was fine. Then the V2
Mm-hmm.
came out, right? The one with the increased battery life.
Yep.
Um, so I bought the Animal Crossing version of that. Having
Mm-hmm.
never played Animal Crossing in my life, it got a good sort of two weeks use, so then never saw the light of day. So I thought I don't play my Switch. I sold that, even though I'm a huge fan of Splatoon. Right, I'll say that ahead. I'm a big fan of Splatoon.
Okay.
And then I bought a Switch Lite because I thought I don't need the TV capability. Right, I managed to
Mm.
get one like cheap. And then the Switch OLED came out, and I was like, oh. And then I thought I'll wait for the Steam Deck. Uh, that didn't happen. I mean, I saw the OLED in stock on Amazon, and I just bought the OLED because I'm bored. I want new Nintendo hardware. I just want stuff. But I'll tell you what, it's worth the upgrade. We'll talk about that
Hmm.
more later, but it's worth
Spoilers
the
alert.
upgrade. But yeah, first I want to kind of go through. We'll talk about Unforeseen Incidents, which is a good adventure game in my opinion, but I think Damiano has a different kind of idea about that.
An half-baked opinion, yes.
Um, yeah, but you know, so
Yes.
it came out back in 2017, right? I
Yeah.
think 2017. Why
Mhm.
didn't you like it?
Uh, I'll have to dig my memories. I played it quite a bit. I think at least 2 3 hours. It's not a very long game, so I think 2 3 hours were enough to gain to sort of gauge my interest about it. I remember the plot was fine, was interesting, was a bit different from the usual point and click fare. But I think it was something in the puzzle that put me off quite quickly. That I didn't really get that interested. Then I saw everyone was just very enthusiastic about it, saying, "Oh, this is great! This is great!" And unfortunately, the way my personality works is that when everyone does that, I get turned off basically very very
Mm.
quickly. And so yeah, I didn't play it again. It's not like I don't like it. I mean, maybe that's too strong an opinion for something that's been quite a few years back. But yeah, I wasn't really interested just to like see it to the end. So what's your opinion instead? So you liked it. So what did you like?
Uh I mean, adventure games are few and far between these days. I already played this on PC when it came out, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I think the art is really good.
The art is good. I
Uh,
agree.
I really love that art style. It's kind of like a telltale drawn. I don't know how you would say it, but it's quite obviously like a sketched art style with Comic Sans
Mm-hmm.
font. And, um, it's good, and I think it's interesting. I think the story is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but the Switch version, right? So this is where we kind of collide here. That now, it looks amazing on the OLED. The art really comes to life, and it pops. It really pops, and that's kind of what I was going to say. I will go on to say about the OLED later, which is it just makes everything look amazing. But the Switch controls are not great. So you use the left analog stick to move Harper, the main character, around, but you use the right analog stick to move a cursor around like you would a computer mouse. And I thought that was like it's too weird because it's like I've also been playing Siberia, the ports of that adventure game, and you move around, but then you press A on things. They've changed it so you can walk right up and just press a button like a normal game, but they haven't done that for Unforeseen Incidents. And it's a real letdown because it's really slow. Like a computer mouse, you move your own mouse at the speed you want, but with an analog stick, it's just really slow watching it go across the screen.
But did they implement touch controls?
I haven't checked, but I don't think so.
I
mean, maybe I'll check that for next episode.
That's something I was talking about with the developer of Inspector Waffles, and I mentioned to him that I actually appreciated on Switch. Inspector Waffles actually has touch controls which work really well. I mean, personally, I think way better than just using the controllers. So I was like, but is it a lot of work to implement touch control adventure game? Because I've seen not many developers when they port their point and clicks to Switch actually do that, which I would think would be the first thing because yeah, it makes so much sense for a point and click to use touch controls. I mean, for other games probably not, but point and click are made for touch controls. Come on, for touchscreen. And it was like, no, it's not a lot of work. So I mean, it was like I actually didn't think about it, and then my publisher actually said, "Can you implement touch controls?" And then I did. So that maybe some developers don't actually think that that would work, but if any developers out there is watching, listening, then please do implement touch controls on the Switch because they're pretty good for your point and clicks, of course, only for your point and clicks.
Really, I'd like if you like. Why do you like touch controls? Because I have a thing right about I don't want to touch my screen and like dirty it up. Is that a thing for you, or am I just crazy?
You're crazy. And you're also just on the surface of the sun, apparently. Yeah, you're all white and stuff. But
why do you like?
I mean, I don't play with touch controls because basically my docked 95% of the time, so I don't actually use touch controls. But it's something that's good to have, I think. I mean, if you're playing on the go, it's great to have touch controls. I mean, if you're playing on the plane, yeah, just on the go, it's quite convenient, I think. The point is, I've never mostly played on the go these days for obvious reasons because you can travel again. So I don't have much use for that. So it's not like I'm a fan of touch controls, but they make sense for adventure games. That's all.
Well, it's a good point, I guess. I mean, I never thought of that, but yeah. So basically, the summary is that Unforeseen Incidents is a good game, but I wouldn't play it on the Switch at the moment unless it has touch controls and you enjoy it. But my experience was not a big fan. Still a good game, and it's a shame because everything does suit the Switch. Games like this, like little indies, but how about we move on? You tell me some of your favorite Switch games.
Okay, so the first Switch game I got is an obvious one, and was Super Mario Odyssey, which I mean, it's not my favorite Super Mario game, of course. I mean, I don't think it's anyone's favorite Mario game. Maybe someone, I don't know, but it's not got this great hardcore fans. It's a good game. It's very well designed. It's got the usual slew of great Nintendo ideas. But I don't know. It's missing something. It feels like all it doesn't really click in the end, at least for me. Yeah, again, it's a good game. It uses the Switch in a sensible way and all of that, so it makes sense. I mean, it's pretty good. Um, for my favorite games on the Switch, the first one I would say is yeah, kind of obscure because yeah, it's me. What a surprise! It's Luminous remastered. Luminous, it was I think one of the, I don't remember if it was one of the launch titles on the PlayStation Portal or something, but yeah, it was one heavily featured title on the PlayStation Portal. So it's interesting to see what was a big Sony franchise on a Nintendo Switch. And I mean, the soundtrack is not good at more recent Luminous offerings, even though there's not recent Luminous offerings, I guess, anymore, unfortunately, because I like it. Have you played Luminous ever?
No, no, I've never played
Hmm.
it, so this is interesting to me.
Okay, so basically, Luminous is like Tetris with music. Basically, you play a sort of version of Tetris, but with just two. You just have to match the colors, so it's a bit more like columns, maybe. Well, dipping into old stuff here. So yeah, just match the colors, and you get all these blocks that fall constantly. But you get like a music timeline, so the music just repeats with this timeline just goes with the beat of the music. So you have to make like as many matches as possible before the beat repeats. So there's like slower songs when you get more time to actually make matches, and then of course faster songs when the beat is much faster and you get less time. And you would think, having slower songs is easier because, you have more time to do bonuses and get combos and stuff. But it's actually harder because if the timeline doesn't end, so if the beat doesn't repeat, your screen doesn't get cleared of the matches you've made. So you risk actually, overflowing the screen and losing the match. So I think it works quite well on the Switch, of course. So it's great both on Go and on the TV screen. Again, not a fantastic soundtrack, but yeah, pretty good game. Well, another big thing I played on the Switch all the time because this is the perfect game on the go. Is The Binding of Isaac, which again,
Oh,
which
I
again
see.
is pretty.
I've played
Go ahead.
this. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this because I'm not a huge fan of this, and I know you are.
Yeah. First thing first, it's interesting to see a title so extreme as The Binding of Isaac, that features piss, shit, vomit, every liquid you can imagine,
Yeah.
on a Nintendo console. So it makes you, I mean, if you're an old Nintendo fan, I'm not, but, I remember the times when Nintendo would never feature something like that on their consoles. So it's interesting to see something like that on the Switch. But yeah, I mean, it works okay on the Switch. Funny thing is that in the sometimes when there's a lot of graphical effects, the game fucking, sorry, I swear, but yeah, fucking slows down to a crawl, which yeah, that it shouldn't do that, but I think it does that on the PC as well. So, but yeah. So you want to know what do I like about Binding of Isaac? For me, it's I mean, The Binding of Isaac is basically the original Legend of Zelda remixed. That's all it is, with a few bells and whistles and piss and shit, but and Satan. but that's basically the dungeons in the Legend of that, that's basically the Binding of Isaac. Some enemies are basically copied and pasted from the Legend of Zelda. God, and but I think it works because it marries its strong idea at the base, so of the whole religious game, because Edmund, the developer, grew up in a strong Catholic
Right.
family,
Yeah.
so all his upbringing is basically just transported in that game. I remember an old interview with mother that said, "Oh my God, did that traumatize my son so much that it made this horrible game?" I think it was in like Indie Game the movie. Well, we're talking
Yeah. 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 Good.
all shit here.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think it marries that idea and the design of the game so well. I mean, it's really like someone going back to its roots. So like The Legend of Zelda that I played as a kid, influenced, married with my Catholic upbringing. I think it works really well in that. Of course, it's repetitive. Of course, it's a roguelite, so it's hard, it's difficult, it punishes you, blah blah blah, and some runs are fucking awful. But what do I have to? What do you have to do? And it's interesting because it's a game that has a lot of fans, but still, there's been nothing like it. Really, I mean, I've played a lot of roguelites since the release of Binding of Isaac, because the original release of Binding of Isaac is like the Flash game was 2008, something like that, 2007. So old, 15 years ago, something like that. But there's been nothing like it ever since. Like a kind of
It's true. It's true.
old school roguelite, kind of a unique art, unique vibe. There's been nothing like it. So it does something right, in my experience. Um, so the last game I would actually like to mention is Luigi's Mansion 3, and that was very interesting.
It's a
I
good
was
game.
never Yes, I was never a big Luigi's Mansion fan. Truth be told, I only played the 3DS one. I never played the GameCube one, which some people said it's not that good. But three is very good. I like the ideas. I think it works. I mean, it kind of picks up on what I was saying about Super Mario Odyssey, in that there's many interesting Nintendo ideas, the usual kind of gameplay, platforming stuff. But it does that really well, and it also makes you want to collect all the stuff and find secrets. And I like more the horror vibe, rather strange like metrosexual vibe that we're going for in Super Mario Odyssey, which I didn't understand. So yeah, it was really good. Actually, talking about it makes me play it again, because I played it once. So your turn now, Jesse. What are your favorite Nintendo Switch games? Which I, of course, for every game that you mentioned, you bought 5 copies, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Sure. I mean, okay. Mine are. Uh, uh, Mine are a mix. So I also like Super Mario Odyssey.
mm-hmm.
I was not a big fan of Breath of the Wild. Well, okay, Breath of the Wild is good, but uh, it it's not as good as the other stuff. Um, I love when I think of Nintendo Wii U onwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Splatoon. Like, for some reason, it's I just really love Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain it. I need help. Like, it's supposed to be for kids, right? And I genuinely take it very seriously. I play it. I play the rank. Well, I used to. I don't play it so much now. I played the ranked mode, and I would get so frustrated. Like, you would see people who are clearly children, because they'd start the game and their parents obviously bought them this game where they're like, oh, it's just little fun colors and you spray paint, and so there's like a fucking 3-year-old going like, you're looking in the air with gyro controls, and there's me like raging out, going like, paint the level, and like I can't get over why people are just so bad at that game. And then you remember, like Mario Kart, it's a bunch of kids, and I'm the man child playing Splatoon.
Okay, so we'll have to change the title of the video to Jesse Polly's Little Kids on.
Pretty much, yes. I bully little kids online, yeah. But I don't know. I think it's so original, and I can't wait for Splatoon 3. I think it was just a genius idea. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if this is one of my favorites. But I've been playing Phoenix Wright on your recommendation. And I've never played that before, but I'm playing it on the Switch, which is like where it belongs. And I will honestly, I would say you go out and buy a Switch OLED just to play this game on it. No way.
I won this in Japan. Although this thing that you put in some money and you get an action figurine, so I got one of them. Sort of Miles Edgeworth pointing at you and being all judgy, as he usually does. Sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
No, that's fascinating. And like, when we're over, you're taking me to Tokyo so that I can.
Yes, live stream from Tokyo. Yes, let's go, baby.
But it's one of those. Yeah, Phoenix Wright is a series I've heard loads about. And everyone goes on about how good it is, and I'm not much of a visual novel person. But I've the past sort of 4 or 5 days, I've just been playing it every evening for as long as I can. It's so good. It's so good, and on the OLED screen, it's just jaw dropping. And it's how old is that? It came out on the DS, right? So.
Well, it's been remastered, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the version I'm playing. But I mean, the game itself is 15 years old, and I just think there's a lot of genius ideas in there.
Yeah, and actually, if you play the original on DS, there was this. I mean, the bonus chapter is in the version you're playing as well. But the version that you played on Nintendo DS, that fifth chapter, because the game ended on the fourth chapter, that fifth chapter was a bonus that they did for the Nintendo DS version, because it was actually original release on Game Boy Advance, but only in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, the original trilogy actually comes from the game. So when they ported it on the Switch, also for Europe, they wrote this new chapter that used a lot of features on the DS, which was quite fun. So you use the microphone and the touch screen and all of that. I don't remember if there was anything about closing it up. I don't think so. But yeah, you use most of the features. Of course, everything is gone now that's on the Switch because it was all supported on Windows and stuff, so it wasn't possible to do anything like that. But I mean, as you mentioned, I'm a great fan of Phoenix Wright, which is maybe stretching it a bit in that, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy. I'm a bit more on the fence about all the other games released after that, because I think none of them captured what made the original trilogy so brilliant. Maybe someday when you'll finish the trilogy and play any of the other ones, we'll talk about this again. But I think it's missing something, especially the one on the DS that were released after that, Apollo Justice was Ace Attorney 4. That one was not that good. So yeah, even the latest one that I've heard things about that was released last year on exclusive on the Switch, that also went out of my way to actually buy a physical copy. So I'm trying to to support the series as much as I can, even though I kind of lost interest. I thought it was just okay. I mean, I liked it, but it's been a few months. I barely remember anything about it, except of course the Italian character that eats spaghetti while he is
What else would he do?
Incurred, because yes, I mean, obviously we eat spaghetti all the time. I mean, I actually have a plate of spaghetti that's just out of focus, but yeah, just here. But yeah, go on. Yes, what other games?
Okay, I'll mention one more. I mean, they're just tons, but another game I've also been playing is Stardew Valley, which I know you're not keen on either, right?
Well, I haven't played it for hours. It's just that overall format. I mean, kind of game that I don't really love to bits. I mean, I like it, but I don't really go back to it that much.
Really, it's just like the endless
Mm,
game, though.
yeah,
It's it's uh it's so good, but also looks amazing on the OLED.
again.
But I don't know. I really like Stardew Valley. I think it's a better version of Animal Crossing than Animal Crossing.
That's a spicy take. That's a spicy take. I'm not an Animal Crossing fan either. It's fine
Yeah,
for me. I might even agree. Yeah.
I think Animal Crossing is overhyped.
I could agree with that. Yes, definitely. I mean, there's people that actually spend huge amounts of money just to get items. I'm talking real money here. Uh, to get items for their islands, which is something that I could never understand for the life of me. I mean, you're spending real money to get virtual items. I mean, it's not a new thing. Sure, people have been spending money on virtual items since forever. Horse Oblivion Horse Armor reference here insert. But oh, I don't know. I just find it so weird.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on and talk about the Switch OLED now.
Go on. I'm a
Uh,
poor boy, so I don't have it. So the floor is yours. I can
and
say anything.
then yeah, and then
I'll
after
shut up.
we'll move on. After that, we'll move on. Kind of talk about some more, you know, other little bits. But yeah, so Switch OLED, so good for what it is, right? I was not a believer to begin with. I thought they're just sticking an OLED in here and charging more. Uh, but it works. Like the screen, like the bigger, it's an inch bigger, which
Hmm.
is something we'd all like, and it's an OLED screen, and it really, it really does pop. It's just it is so good. I would recommend. It's certainly worth it if you have the extra money.
Hmm.
Um, the white, I don't like white things, but I bought the white, and it actually looks pretty good. It's if you don't have a Switch, you should buy it. Basically, there's no point in buying the old normal Switch anymore. For the little bit
Sure.
extra it costs you, you might as well buy the OLED. Because it's also has 64 gig of storage, so storage is up, has a better stand. It's made of like metal now, so it feels really premium. The screen has like an anti-glare coating as well,
Mm.
and I don't know. There's something about it that just feels a lot better in the hand. Um, Having just come from the Switch Lite as well, I would say if you have a Switch Lite, it's worth it as well. If you sell your Switch Lite, I think anyone who's really, if you're really into games, especially Nintendo, and you have a Switch, I think it's worth selling that and putting a little bit towards taking that money, saving up a bit, and then buying the OLED. From the Lite, the screen size is a much bigger jump, and the screen quality. The only people it doesn't make sense for is if you already have a normal Switch, so you can dock it to the TV. Yeah, and you don't use it so much that you care. Yeah, so you know it. At that point, it's not really worth it, especially if you don't care. I'm quite a sort of graphics whore. Like I love graphics and things that look shiny on the TV and stuff. So that's why I upgraded. If this had just been a slightly bigger Switch, I probably wouldn't have bothered. Um, but the I would say don't dismiss the OLED upgrade. If you especially, I mean, some people don't notice the difference, but I don't see how you can not notice. It's very um, obvious. And yeah, do you have any input into that?
Not really. I mean, I think in general, if you already have a Switch and you basically never played it undocked, doesn't make any sense to upgrade to an OLED. And, I mean, sure, you get a better stand, but that's a bit too much money just to get a better. But I actually have a spicy question. Why do you think Nintendo didn't do the obvious? So that would be the Pro that mentioned the rumored Pro, and instead went for lesser upgrade with the OLED.
I will tell you my honest opinion, and there were a lot of rumors coming from Bloomberg, from Jason Schreier, about the Pro, and everyone was really mad when this was announced, and it was just a screen upgrade. I mean, nobody saw that coming, but I will tell you now, there was definitely a Pro coming. This should have been the Pro. I think the big chip shortage they're having in the factories in Asia, getting hold of all the parts for, there's I don't know offhand, but there's chips that go into pretty much every electronic device now, and they all use the same chips, like from phones to Xboxes and there's a huge shortage, and I think Nintendo, I think this would have been more powerful it would have been the same thing but more powerful had they been able to get the parts and source them. But I think eventually they just said, you know what, let's just launch it as the OLED. We'll keep the new screen. I think that's why it's the price hike. I think this was intended to either replace the old one or or be more expensive with more powerful hardware. But I think they made the choice to just go with release what they have now. And I mean, we're going to see a new, a Switch 2 or a Switch successor by 2024. I mean, the end of it'll probably be announced next year, come out March.
Or maybe end of this year, but no sooner than that.
No, I mean, judging by Nintendo, this isn't new. Like, Nintendo follow the same pattern. They have very traditional Japanese business practices. I mean, you look at the DS and the 3DS. They brought out the 3DS, the 3DS XL, the new 3DS, the new 3DS XL, the new 2DS, the 2DS. And it's every year or two. And this is what happens. This is why I've bought so many, and I don't even play that many Nintendo games. And I think, judging by that pattern, we're a couple years at most from the release of another Switch. I mean, Switch 2017, March 2017, Switch Lite 2019, Switch OLED 2021. It's every 2 years.
Oh, by the way, this reminds me. A few days ago, I was in a shop, and I saw like 50 copies of Super Mario 3D All Stars, the limited edition.
Oh yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was just
were they full price?
A curveball.
I mean, that's send me one.
Sorry,
send me one. Well, how much were they?
A full price.
Oh.
No. I mean, they were odd one. No, they were full price, so like 50 euros. No way. But yeah, I mean, just closing up that topic. I would really like to have to buy the Super Mario 3D All Stars, but all that business crap that Nintendo did, this limited edition, both physical and digital, for reasons that we don't want to explain and we probably don't know ourselves. So I didn't like that, so I won't giving them my money for that thing, even though I would very much like to play Super Mario Galaxy again on the Switch, but it's not even that great of a conversion as well, which also part of the reason why I won't go out of my way to get one. I mean, if I find a used copy for like, I don't know, 20 euros maybe, yes, but my money to Nintendo for that, no.
Yeah, I think they've become PS4 era Sony now. Nintendo, they're riding high on this wave of how well the Switch has done. But if you remember, coming off the back of the Wii U, which was horrendous and almost put them out of business. Can they? I mean, the Switch is still selling like hotcakes, and it annoys me because I want new games. Right? There's still Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014, and we're still playing Mario Kart 8. Almost a decade later.
Yeah,
it's boring.
true.
I'm gonna be an old man by the time 9 comes out.
Yeah, they also had to basically hire someone title because they aren't pretty capable of doing work. So they're just like not really putting out much games anymore at this point. Which you would think, I mean, you got just one console at this point. You even got the 3DS anymore. That's basically almost dead by then, by today, by this year. So release some games. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you waiting for? The Switch Pro? Hey.
I think if they put the games out, think of how much money they could be making.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, they do really sometimes they do some business decision that you're really struggling to understand that don't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever way you spin it, to spin them, what? Why? Who knows? Maybe they don't know.
So, okay, let's move on. I want to talk about, or directly to, our fan Will Eichmann. I've been teasing to Will. You know, we've been saying, "Oh, Will, oh, there's something coming for you," and Will, you know, messaged me asking what it was, and he still owes me. His last message was like weeks ago, and he said, "I'm going to play this game," and he hasn't told me, so shame on him. But the big thing, Will, is that I'm no longer writing for Adventure Gamers. I have a staff job now. I'm not freelancing or writing for anyone. I'm not gonna say any more than that at the moment. But screw you, Will. Screw you.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is just antagonized our only listener, and is also now betrayed us and is working for the competition.
He's your best friend anyway, so I've got it in for him. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. I think for our first video outing, so sorry for all the listeners, but I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, you can. Shall we tell them the audio listeners, the audio only folks, where they can find us now? I mean, this is the format going forwards. And for new video folks, subscribe and
click that bell.
Yeah, do what he says. You know, the angry Italian man.
No.
But you can catch up on our previous interesting interviews on the on anchor.com.fm something / in the deep end podcast. And there's a Twitter. Go to the Twitter and say hello because no one else does.
Yes, please.
But for audio listeners, we are now on youtube.com / in the deep end podcast. Come and watch. Come and have a look at what we look like.
Yes, our beautiful faces live, coming to you live. I mean, sort of live.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have, we'll be back next week with a very interesting guest. Hopefully, yes. We won't say who it is in case it falls through. But I don't know what's going to happen with that. He seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a promise and a threat. All right then. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for watching.